Hello again. So I'm continuing the story of the last episode of my bipolar struggling, my life, 7 years of struggling with bipolar tips and hacks and suggestions. And I'm going to tell you what happened when my baby was born, how I felt better for a spell, but how then the situation got much worse. And I was feeling so low that I felt never so low in my whole life. Even in after happening depressions, I was never feeling so bad as in my first one. And for many months, I didn't get any psychiatric help. I didn't take any pills. So if I did, my life now would be different, as I have already told. However, when my baby was born, my life was better for about 2 months. I was enjoying playing with my child. I was enjoying feeding her with my breast very much. I felt a connection to her. She was very sympathetic. She was very nice. She was very cute. And I liked, hugging her and cuddling her and going for walks with her in our wonderful neighborhood all the time. Warmth, you just go for a nice stroll and you enjoy yourself and everyone is like smiling because in Brazil, people adore children. It's a cult of children, in this country. So if they see that you are a mother, they support you, they give you gifts. So your life seemed grand. My husband was still loving me. He was very good and he wanted to help. He helped. He didn't sleep with me, so it was quite nice, but only for 2 months. And what happened next? It happened, my worst mistake that I still very much feel bad about it, that I behaved in a wrong manner, in a demanding situation, that I behaved not like I should have, not like a strong person, but a weak woman, unsure of herself and not be able to put her feet on the ground, just take a stand, So I'm going to tell you about it. When my child was about 2 years old, my husband brought all his family to Brazil. They were living in another country, in Holland. And he has an extended family. He has a mother, like 3 brothers, a sister, a nephew, a niece. So all the big Brazilian family, a clan. And he's brought his mother to help me, to help me raise my baby, to feel more secure, to have more rest, to sleep more, and just to feel better about myself. And his mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law is a very dominant person. She is sure of herself. She's, big in her thinking and she knows better all the time. So all the time she knows better. But now I realize that she really wanted to help, So now I'm grateful to her how she tried to save me, to give me financial tips. But at the midst of it all, I was feeling that she interferes into my life in a very severe way. She started taking too much care of my baby, washing her, playing with her, going for walks. So I felt kind of useless, So what am I? Useless? My mother thinks my mother aspirations are not there. They are not worth it. And she gave us a lot of financial advice. She went through my personal stuff, which I resented very much. And how I dealt with it, what happened to me. So instead of feeling strong, and saying, no, I better have a nurse than this help, I accepted this. So I was raised with the feeling that you should respect your elders, that they deserve the respect just being older than you, which is not the case. The respect and the admiration have to be earned, It is not a given thing. And when my daughter was 2 months old, I begged with my husband just to get me rid of this woman, just to find her a separate place, because she was living at the same apartment as us, and she was always there, singing and cooking and taking care of my husband and washing our stuff. She was like everywhere, and I felt suffocated, I felt really bad. So I was starting feeling low again. I started smoking too much. And I started smoking weed much more again. And I was not into hard drugs, so I didn't use other drugs, but I smoked a lot of weed, and it all continued, the same situation. Once I begged my husband, I remember this situation very clearly. Like, we were sitting at the swimming pool and I was crying, crying my heart out. So help me, husband, help me, get me rid of this woman, find her separate home, find her separate apartment, but get me rid of it, because I don't need this help. I feel capable of taking care of my daughter. I felt capable, I felt strong at that moment. But this interruption and all the time, this invasion in my privacy, in my private life, in my married life, felt me very low, made me feel very low. So I remember this moment very vividly, how I was crying, how I was feeling helpless. And he said, no, my mother will stay. You have to deal with it. She's here to help. And the question is closed, So I had to take it and deal with it somehow. And at first, it was the first time we had a real conflict with my husband, and he rejected me. And the thought was here, so the seed of doubt, of paranoia was there, that he didn't really care about me, that he cares more about his mother. And I felt jealous and I felt unwanted, I felt very much rejected. So with the stress and all the time frustrations, I never thought about going to the therapist again because of the first very lame experience. And I didn't think about the family therapist intervention because my belief in therapy was severely undercut. And what do you think happened later? When my daughter Victoria was 6 years old, because of my smoking, because of my weed smoking and alcohol intake, my milk stopped. So she didn't want to take my milk anymore. I didn't have enough milk to feed her, and we had to switch to formula. And at that moment, I started to feel way worse. I started to feel that I am incapable of giving the life substance to my daughter. And as a medical doctor, I know how important the breast milk is. So I was thinking that I'm not giving her the stuff that she most needs. The immunity system suffers. And I was feeling very worried about that. And I started feeling unworthy of this wonderful child, because she was wonderful, healthy, unfussy. She didn't cry. She slept all the time and was smiling all the time when she saw me, I was her mommy, and she really knew it. And she gave me to understand that she knew it and that she loves me, even at that tender age. But I was feeling very frustrated about all this continuing intervention of my mother-in-law, and I decided to ask for divorce. I went to see a lawyer. I consulted her a little bit. She was a very good lawyer, and he told me, Olga, go at once. Go at once, get a divorce, get a custody of your daughter. You will feel better. Your husband will not be able to interfere so much with his mother. You will be in charge, So I was thinking about it. I told my husband about it. We were sitting again somewhere on the beach. I said, darling, I want a divorce because I can't take this anymore. And he started pleading with me. He started telling how much we love each other and how it is just a difficult time that we are going to pass, and that our love is all encompassing and we're going to win, and I'm going to feel better. So don't worry. You will feel better. Just take the situation, live with it a bit, and forget about the divorce. And I loved him very much. So I accepted his proposal to try longer. So when my daughter was 9 months old, I was already at my ends with. At the end of my weeds, I was feeling very worthless, very ungrateful, very moaning, complaining, bitch all the time. The threat of the divorce didn't help. The situation with this family invasion was too much for me. I didn't know how to deal with it. I turned to drugs, which made me feel worse, And when my daughter was 9 months old, I had something awful happened to my head, I felt that it was an explosion of blue light in my head. I had a feeling that all the neurons disconnected and started to be twisted in my head. So I started to have insomnia. I couldn't sleep at all. I was walking around my apartment all the time in my underwear. I couldn't dress, I couldn't wash. I couldn't take care of the house anymore. I didn't want to do anything. I was only crying. I was speaking to my mother all the time on the telephone. And when someone asked me what you were talking about, I couldn't find the answer. I couldn't describe what we were talking about and I also started having voices in my head, paranoid voices, thinking that my husband wanted to poison me, that I shouldn't eat his food, that he's planning to get rid of me and take care of my baby only by himself, that he wants to get rid of me, that my life is actually in danger. And then came a severe insomnia, and I couldn't sleep at all. I couldn't stay in bed. I couldn't watch a movie. I couldn't read a book. I totally lost that sense of touch and smell and physical touch, and taste and smell. One time we tried to make love, and I even had my orgasm, but I didn't feel it. It just felt, my body trembled, like it happened, but I didn't feel anything. I was horrified, I was horrified how I feel, I was moving endlessly around my apartment. Everything was dirty. I didn't wash the clothes. I didn't wash the floor. I was only talking to my mother and complaining. My mother didn't know what to do, didn't want to help. And we are all doctors, we know that there are psychiatrists out there. Maybe you should go, but we didn't go because we didn't think about it. We thought that it's okay, that it's just a psychosis after the depression, and after the, the birth of my baby, and it will pass soon. But it didn't pass for many months and didn't pass. So for one time, I didn't sleep 5 nights, and I had severe headaches, and I didn't sleep or nap in the daytime, and I had double vision, and voices in my head just came stronger. I couldn't steal any moment for any moment. I was crying all the time, terrified of what's going on with me, because I couldn't understand what's wrong with me and why I feel so bad. So at that moment, I couldn't even express what I was afraid of and what I was feeling. I couldn't find the words, I was just saying, I feel very bad, I feel very bad. I cannot find a place. I don't know what to do. I cannot take any right decision or wrong decision. I don't know what to cook. I can't cook. I cannot care of my daughter. So at that time, I was really actually grateful to my mother-in-law, because she really stepped in. She took this baby, which had a separate house at that time, because finally my husband succeeded to find her a home, which she was happy with. And my baby was there all the time. I just came to visit, play, and hug her too tight, and she started crying. And I felt worse and worse that I cannot be a mother, and I just didn't know what to do. So I stopped caring about my appearance, and I was feeling so bad all the time. I just didn't know what to do, where to run, where to ask for help. And that time we decided, with my mother mostly, that maybe it was really time to consult a psychiatrist. And because I was afraid that this constant just contradicting voices that was tearing me apart, that they would just open my skull and I would die. I was really afraid to die, but I wanted to die at the same time. At one point I had suicidal thoughts, but I was too afraid to go through this. And I was afraid about well-being of my mother, not about well-being of my daughter, because I didn't care about my child at all. I didn't think about my husband. I just thought, I want to die. I can't take this depression anymore. I can't take this feeling bad all the time. I cannot sleep all the time. I just need to do something. So my husband found some psychiatrist, some dude with accolades from São Paulo University, from a great university, who was very expensive, who agreed to see me at once. But when they came there, he didn't even ask me to be alone in a room without my husband. He just accepted me, sort of a woman. Well, I was telling him how bad I feel, how that I can sleep, that I can find a place to be, that I would feeling low all the time. I couldn't do anything. And he just, I guess, he was having all the time visits of the rich women who wanted attention, who wanted attention from the husbands, and who invented all the symptoms to just get attention and get more love of the situation and get something in return. I go to psychiatrist, I need help, so you need to help me. I have problems with my husband, so please deal with it. Maybe he accepted me like a woman like this because he even didn't talk to me alone. He almost was directing all his questions to my husband instead of me. I never was left in a room with him telling him that I'm actually afraid of my husband, what he will do to me, that I don't sleep. And he had told me that I have to take walks on the beach more, eat more food the color of orange because it has some kind of vitamins that can help me, and he didn't prescribe me any pills. He just left me alone in my pit of depression, and I thought, okay, so this is the psychiatrist, so I'm actually okay, so this will pass, but it didn't pass. It didn't pass, and it didn't pass. So in the end, my mother decided to take matters in her own hands. I complained to her that I couldn't sleep for 5 months. She jumped on the plane, she bought an expensive ticket, and took with her like a bag of medication, all kinds of medication, but she didn't have the psychiatric stuff because we didn't think that I have a real disease at that time. But with all the sleeping pills that I have that she had, and injections of almost we tried everything but the morphine, The morphine we didn't have, unfortunately, because I would be grateful to be given it. And she gave me these injections, just huge doses, and I was able only to sleep 1 or 2 hours. Then I was very hyped again and couldn't stop walking around the apartment again, couldn't stop. But at first time, the voices stopped because I managed to get some rest. So the voices was not bothering me anymore, but I still felt ungrateful, unworthy, low. I just didn't call it depressed because I thought that it is not for me, that it's not my disease. That's again for weak people, and I'm not a weak person, and I will beat it and I will be okay again. But as I was not feeling better, she spent with me about 2 weeks, and she said, Olga, we have to do something. We have to go back to Russia, where you can talk in your own language, where I have connections with other doctors, where we can finally find out what is wrong with you. So let's go. So she went to Russia. So we went to Russia. We found tickets at once. We bought tickets at once again at exorbitant price, because it's very expensive to fly from our little city to Moscow. You have to make 2 connections. And I felt awful during the whole flight. I was walking around the plane, couldn't find a place, I was sick. I was physically sick all the time. I couldn't eat. I couldn't close my eyes. It was an awful trip, I felt very bad. So this is how it all started in my case, It started from feeling low about your unpredicted pregnancy, unwanted, to a full-blown psychosis after the baby was born. Yes, I had a brief good interlude about for 2 months when I was feeling a mommy, it was new, and suddenly my fears, turned out to be wrong. I understood that I like my baby. I still didn't like other people's babies. I didn't want to pass time with them, to invite friends to play with their babies, but I felt better, I felt better. I felt more secure. But then her mother-in-law came. My mother-in-law came and made it feel worse. My first conflict with my husband, the first visit, the visit to the bad therapist, and to a bad psychiatrist who thought that I was just seeking attention from my husband, who never spoke with me privately and didn't care about my condition at all. He spent with us like half an hour, and then I was gone out the door. He didn't even set the second date with me, and we paid him a lot of money, and he was from a great institutions. He was a great accoladed doctor, but it was all in vain. So this is my advice to you. Don't stop looking for a good doctor. If you are feeling low, more than 2 weeks or months, if you are feeling out of place, if you're having voices in your head, if you don't have any energy or energy too much, if you don't sleep at all, if you do sleep too much, if you can't work, if you can't wash yourself, can't make your bed, can't make your room look good, you know, if you have all these symptoms, go to your doctor, go alone, better to the same sex specialist as you are, because women tend to understand women more. We are all made from the same stuff. The men don't understand women. So the women, I give this advice, go to another woman, you know, especially a mother, if it's like mother related thoughts, bad thoughts, like in my case, but go to the same sex doctor, you know, and don't take no for an answer. If she doesn't think that you are seriously ill, go to the second doctor and explain more, write down your symptoms, you know, read this stuff, make a diary of how long you are feeling bad, you know, that how much you sleep, you know, how much you don't sleep, if you can work, if you can take care of the house, you know, so someone can identify your real disease, and don't just think that you are seeking attention, that your suicidal thought is just a cry for help, for attention, for love, for more approval. You know, don't take no for an answer. Try 3, try 4 specialists and find a better one, you know, a good one who will take you seriously, who will look into your eyes, who will ask you a lot of questions, you know, who will say to you, okay, I will write you a set of antidepressants, they are light, let's see what happened to you in a week or 2, you know, in a month. You can take some, you can have some mild side effects, but they're usually mild, you know, like dryness of the mouth, you know, and you don't feel comfortable driving a car, you know, you can take public transportation. It's all out there, this, you know, so don't go to any posh clinics where they're used to these madams who are looking for help. Go to a state clinic where the doctors are used, that patients come every day with severe problems because they don't have money, or that's the first place where they go. So the doctors deal with the disease all the time, you know, and they know from the first set of professional questions that something is wrong with you. You know, so don't be persuaded that you are okay if you feel low, if you feel depressed, if you read something on the internet, if you read on the forums that this is the symptoms of depression. Don't try to put them on yourself if you don't feel them. This is the tip, you know, don't try to read too much bad information on the forums, you know, look for the good stuff, you know. So I feel low, but I felt physical exercises and I feel a bit better. I managed to sleep better if I didn't watch horror movies before bed. You know, try to make it to your situation. Try to make your diary. Try to identify your symptoms, what triggers your bad attitude, your bad behavior, you know, or your bad how your self-esteem goes low, you know, how you feel worthless, guilty, ungrateful. It's all the symptoms of depression. It was all happened to me in my case. And my case was serious. I was preparing to be a mother, so I was feeling a double responsibility for me. And as I'm a very responsible person, I felt that I want to be a good mother, and I was feeling that I would be unable, you know, that my baby will be a burden to me, and I will be a burden to him, and that our family will fall apart. So it all was very serious in my case. So, my dears, my bipolar strugglers, my depression strugglers, I'm leaving you now, and I hope you took something useful from this video, you know, some tips, some advice, or that you found this is a really interesting story about the woman struggling for motherhood and didn't find any help. My depression lasts about, when I moved to Russia, I felt bad for about a year, you know, I felt bad for several months, you know, I couldn't find a psychiatrist again. I couldn't find a clinic. We were afraid of the treatment. We changed it all the time. But I will tell you about this in further episodes because this one is getting long again, you know. So I hope you liked it a bit, you know, and you will like and subscribe to my channel, listen to me more. So please be well and keep living.